Hello, hello, crypto and beautiful Pulsechain people. I am streaming here on X or YouTube, wherever you are at. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you are here today. In case you don't know me, hi, I'm Whitney Magic, and it's been a little hot while since we spoke on here. I've been personally doing a little bit of traveling, spending some time with my family, kind of the things that summertime is all here to do. And today I really want to drop into talk a little bit more just around like what's going on in the greater crypto world and the crypto market. So just a nice little market update. I've been doing a lot with my own community, my Queen of Millions community, which is for women in crypto. And I've been playing a lot over there. It's been so fun and just teaching my crypto 101 programs. But just want to talk about some of the things that I've been reiterating to them to help ease some things in your mind and also see like what are you finding in the market right now for yourself. And then also, I personally have been reflecting a lot around some of more of the internal stuff, like of being an investor and taking risk, more particularly to like, why do we do what we do? And I'm going to drop some things in. I have some questions for you guys. I find the introspective process of being an investor is so important because yes, we're here to make money. Yes, we take actions, but relatively speaking, like we're not taking big actions. We're not like building foundations or homes or like doing things out in the world, but instead a lot of the work that goes on with being an investor is an inner game. It's a matter of researching, surrounding yourself with people who lift you up, surrounding yourself with real people who also can speak, like be real with you and ask you the things that help expand you and grow. So I find more than anything, investing is a inner game, and we're playing with this outer world game and we're using time and patterns and money to work for us. But the more that we can come back to our center, to reflect, to go back to what truth is, to what patterns are, to our theses, we can also be more confident, enjoy our lives, and enjoy this process of building wealth, being in the crypto space, being in community with each other together, and just enjoying that a little bit more. So, hey, my little intro. I would just love if anyone I know on YouTube, I can see where your comments are, but if you are live with me, please feel free to drop in and say, hey, where you are at or how you are doing today. Would love to hear, love to see. And yeah, feel free to hit that like button too. So let's dive on in. I want to start off first with what I find is going on in the crypto market collectively. So we all know we're like summertime phase. The big things that I've really been seeing and tracking is more just around like we're in this little chop period, in the consolidation period. We're trying to figure out what's going on. We all know the word recession has been looming in the space. So there's definitely been fear to some degree, to a good degree in the greater crypto world, but I think it's more of just question marks around people figuring out, is the market going to drop off more? Fear and question marks just around the election, because we are at this time where, and this happens every 4 years, the US election brings up a whole lot of uncertainty. We never know what's going to go down, if democracy is going to hold, how people are going to vote, how the system is going to cast its creations and rulings going forth for the next 4 years. So I think just realizing and remembering that like the election is the thing that is overall guiding the macro market, a lot of the global markets, and question mark around some of the global markets, but more than anything, our crypto market too. So we're kind of in this holding game, I think, for that. I think the other side of things is we may have some, as we all know, we've been seeing like the potential World War III things that are coming up. It's just question mark once again. Who knows what happens with the economy? Who knows what the Fed does? Interest rates, if they'll start turn the printing machine on at some point to be able to correct things. So like, I'm just really emphasizing here is like, we all know, at least I think this is where my belief still goes, is the crypto markets still have a very, very, very strong bull market energy to it. I think in the next, like if we look short, long term, like being the next year, in my mind, I'm like, it still feels like it's a no brainer that like the bull market's here. It's just a question of what goes on in the next few months, particularly before the election and before interest rates start moving. So really realizing that like, if we're looking at everything is just a giant game in the world, what games are we playing? What games is the financial system playing? Like just what's going on in the world. And I constantly, I'm plugged into the markets every single day. My students are asking me things, like people just want to know what's in the know. And also I do too. And I definitely have to remind myself when I'm like consuming so much to a certain degree of like, hey, what, like, why are we still consuming more information? What do we actually want to find out? Do we feel confident? Do we feel certain? Do we feel fine? Okay, cool. Is there something that you want to go out and learn more about? Amazing. And so I just catch myself, especially with like, I live here in Austin, Texas. I've just spent the last 3 weeks on the East Coast with my family. I frequently have to check in with myself of like the question being, why am I consuming information? And so I ask even you the same thing is like, if you catch yourself addicted to this little square thing or your laptop, take a moment to ask yourself, why are you consuming the information that you need, that you are, and you feel fine and steady on your pathway with your investing plan, or do you need something more? Because I find sometimes we can just get stuck in these like little rabbit holes of like, what ifs, what ifs, what ifs, and we don't actually go back to asking ourselves like, well, why am I consuming this information? So that's my hot little take. But other than that, in the market, yeah, I just think we're in this waiting period, in this holding period. It's also just a time really I find to be able to check in with self, to check in with like, what are the games that personally for me, I've been like, what are the games that I'm playing? How am I playing these games? In the crypto space, I'm like, I feel great. And at the same time, also like, are there like with more cash, more capital that comes in, it's like, where do I feel most excited to put some of that capital? And so I think for everyone, it's a different move in different ways. For many of us, it may be the Pulsechain and the Hex stuff. And also for some of us, we may say like we have enough exposure in that area, in that avenue, in those assets. And where else do we want to play? So just realizing and being real with yourself of like, as an investor, you have to take care of yourself for the holistic thing. We're in a very volatile asset class. You never know particularly what comes out. We always want to we always want to create a future that we want to see. I'm very optimistic, but also I realize that as investors, like we have to create a plan that's solid and grounded for ourselves to succeed emotionally and also just be able to make better decisions going forward. So anyways, I personally have just been like really curious of like going down different rabbit holes of like what narratives are strongest in the crypto space, how capital's flowing in the world, how capital's flowing in the crypto space, just things that like just like really, really light me up. So yeah, I'm not going to go into too many of those rabbit holes because I feel like I could have lessons on lessons to be able to teach, but just want to drop some of those things in. If there's anything that you're looking at, just ask yourself, like, what are you genuinely curious about? Because I think everything's right on time. It's just, I constantly have to catch myself of like, am I feeling this feeling or this fear of like, am I getting it wrong? Do I have to control my assets and my investments? And like, here's the deal is like, with us being here in Pulsechain and in Hex, like there is a product, there is a community, people are still building regardless of what happens on Twitter. And everything fluctuates in time. So it's real. I've been having to remind myself where I'm like wanting to for like time to work faster or for like the markets to move up at a faster rate. And I'm like, what's going on to certain things? And it's just like everything's running its course. And I have to remind myself of like the internal conflict for me that shows up of is like a fear of like, am I getting it wrong? Like me wanting to be right, a little bit of egoic stuff there versus me just like sitting on my hands and just being patient. And I think we all go through this process of being investors is like this patience game. And I know Richard speaks so much about this is even just like the fundamental concept of Hex is just around delayed gratification. And so it's just like these constant, I find just the whole crypto investing journey, because we are in the most volatile asset class, because we're cutting edge, because we're also playing on the edge of the risk spectrum, it can become a huge self-development tool to be able to grow. Because this is also a time where we're like, sometimes we just have to be patient. Sometimes we have to just trust that we have been guided to the right spaces on time. And we all just have to like run our course and run our time. So patience, patience, patience has definitely been one thing I've been calling in to my world. And also, I would love if anyone is on YouTube, just drop me a little comment and just say hey, or just anything that is reflecting or resonating with you to any degree. I really do love the comments and just love a little bit of the interaction. So anyways, okay, what is another topic? Particularly around the patience in the waiting game. Okay, so I've also been reflecting on like this concept of like highs and lows, how like as humans, we really experience these like we experience the high moments in like these really small blip windows. Yet, like I'm looking right across the room at the plaque that in my house that says like um the joy is in the journey. And it's even reminding myself constantly through this process of like being investors is we have our money in the game. Money works for us. And also, we don't know when our time is going to be to shine. Collectively, throughout the whole crypto space, we're all sitting here being like, I want to be right. I want to be right. I want to be right. And the reality is like other people will be right at different timelines, at different moments in the cycle. And then there will be a time for everyone else to shine. And it's during those times you hope that you are aligned to something to actually shine. And this is where patience gets to be that like rewarding game as well. If you can play the patience game, you can be rewarded for it. Otherwise, it's this like possibility thing. So I've been zooming out a lot for my own self just to be like, okay, the journey as an investor is even realizing that like for us to do well, our 5 minutes of fame can truly be 5 minutes of fame, especially how volatile the crypto world works. You take your profits off, you're like, cool, I've been sitting here for 2-3 years. Cool, cool, cool. Peel it off. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So glad, so happy. This all stuff worked out. I'm glad that I was patient. And the joy is in the journey. The joy is in the patience when you can give that gift to yourself. So I have definitely been reminding that for a lot of myself. And just as like, if you guys don't know, like my full-time thing is I teach crypto 101. I have a crypto community. My big passion is around teaching for women. I love, love, love teaching. I love teaching about financial literacy and just like seeing how money and everything moves in the world. And it's even been a game for my own self as like noticing that's like, hey, realistically, like retail investors aren't here yet, like the big bulk of them. A lot of people, like they need the green candles for things to blast off. And so even for me, it's been like, remember that part of our game, like for myself, as I'm building my own community as well, everything, and same thing in the crypto space, is like everything has a course and there is a building time and there's also a harvesting time. And building and harvesting can go on at similar times, but really to get the big harvests, they will come in these blips. And so same thing relates to our crypto market space is like things will go at a certain time, but you have to have foundational things that have roots, that have strength, that have longevity, which is fortunately what we have over in Pulsechain and Hex with things that work, community that is here. And reminder that even if you want to say like little asterisks around the community being the way that it is, like just remember a lot of times the people who are the loudest in the space are the ones who are doing nothing or are the smallest holders. The people who are the loudest are typically not the ones who are the most financially literate or the most emotionally grounded by any means. Instead, they are the tornadoes that are trying to go out and pluck people out of their leadership or rock them off the stage. So I think it's just a reminder for all of us is just like as community, regardless of what the general sentiment is on Twitter or on the YouTube spaces, like it is what it is. But it's more on the Twitter space. If things are feeling icky to any degree, just remember the people who are usually the loudest are the ones that have the least amount to lose, who also probably are the least intelligent. So just remember that this is actually built between a lot more than like 10 people who are negative in the space. And the ones who are grounded, the ones who are most unshakable, like us, who I assume are still here on a Sunday tuning into this lovely stream, we're the ones who are going to win. So just remembering, I love asking myself the question of like, has any information changed? Like, yes, I'm feeling things, but has anything changed? No. Is time still working for us? Yes. Are we still all going to run on course? Yes. Has anything changed? Personally, for me, no, nothing has changed. I'm here for the tech. So good to see you, Fast Abdul. Maybe not see you, but feel you. Oh, these live streams are so great and so funny. Okay, I want to share a little story. Yeah, here for the tech for sure. But okay, I want to share a little personal story. So over these past 3 weeks, I find, well, first off, summertime, just in the crypto space, especially this time right now, it's like just go off and enjoy the nice weather. Like, please go. And so personally for my own self, I went back to my hometown in Massachusetts and was able to spend some really great quality time with my family, all along the East Coast, which is just so nice. And so the reason I bring this up is because when I went over there, I was gonna say abroad. It's not abroad, but anyways, um, I I was still doing a bundle of work and researching and writing, and it was so good. But more than anything, I was also reflecting for my own self to be like, okay, so like why like yes, I take risks. Like personally being an entrepreneur, yes, we're all crypto investors. Like we take risks. We're in the most volatile asset class, and that's no mistake. But also, like there's a lot of different avenues that we can take. And it's like, well, okay, like why do you do what you do? And so I want to ask you, like, why do you do what you do? Why do you take the risks that you do? Because we all know that there's so many different games, like particularly different money games we can play. And I want to go back to like the big why. If anyone would love to share, I would love to see your comment and just like, yeah, and just see that with you. But personally for me, my big whys that I really came upon was really first off being family. I'm 30, I'm single, don't have kids, and kids are definitely a part of my vision and part of my future. And so it's even just been like reminding myself of like when I'm spending more time with my family, like for these past few weeks, and like making the memories that I do. It's like I have the time freedom, I can work wherever I want, but it also buys me time to be able to like really make those connections and those memories with my family, even if I do live halfway across the country with them from them. So for me, it's really been first and foremost family, and I feel like there's at least a lot of people in my world similarly have that reason, whether it's a woman who also wants to take care of her kids in the future or in the current, or if it's other guys who also just want to have more time with their family. I think this is a pretty strong fit, just human need. But yeah, I definitely like we know what we're doing. I think a lot of us know what we're doing, and a lot of things may seem extreme to other people, but we're like, we have our conviction, we understand why we're in crypto, why it's part of the future, why we're taking advantage of this next year. And really, the question mark goes back to like, when's the bull market going to like fully take off? Is it going to be extended a little bit? Regardless of all those different questions and things, I like to go back to like, okay, so whenever it does take off, do I still have time and space to be able to buy myself that long-term freedom? Is it still in alignment with being able to support myself to have more family time? And for me, it checks all the boxes every single time. So first, a big why for me is around family. Two for me is around freedom. Um, Crypto. So before I was in the crypto space, so 4 or 5 years ago, I was a construction corporate engineer, and I had 10 days of vacation. I was living in Washington, D.C. Like everything about the construction life is very much tethered to the site to some degree. And so I didn't have that freedom, that fluidity to be able to work from wherever I could. And for me, like freedom being such a strong core value, I'm like, wait, we can have this thing where like money gets to work for us, and freedom is there, blah blah blah, all these things. I'm like, you guys already know all this stuff. But anyways, I like to say like going back to taking risks, you're doing it for freedom. What are the freedoms? Like why? Why? And for me, it's been like showing like really like it goes back to my relationship to money. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but like really like we all have this like interesting relationship to money. Um and Pastor Abdul, I'm going to get into your comment because I'm already laughing at it. But we all have a unique relationship to money, and especially as women, as a woman for my own self, and I find a lot of other women have this thing too, is like we can feel like we want to hide from finances in some degree. It can feel overwhelming. It could feel like a boys thing. Personally, my family didn't speak about money when I was growing up, and so I didn't really see how money was a game. But the more that I started to see it, and I was like, oh, it's all in alignment with freedom for myself. Like, why am I not understanding how this game works? Because money is just a way that I can play with it and align it to the future and all these things. So anyways, I bring this up where freedom is just going back to how money works in the world and really being like, okay, if I want to feel most free, I know that money can buy me a lot of freedoms. And I also realize that I can have time work for me. And the more that I work on my own relationship to money, how I feel about it, where I'm avoiding my own finances, when I feel like I don't understand what's going on in the greater world. And the more that I study it, the more time that I spend in the crypto market, the more time that I understand how the macroeconomics plays into the crypto world, how much the geopolitics, the US election, all these, the mainstream media, like all of this stuff just layers into this stuff. It helps me understand how power moves in the world. And more than anything, money is just a ripple in a form of power. And ultimately, when I can start to see these games, I don't know if you can see this too, the more that we can all see this, the more that we can create more long-term freedom for ourselves and not feel as trapped in the system or in the world that we're in. And so my big why around freedom really goes back to confidence, empowerment, being able to see what's in the world, feeling like this life is a game, because it really, really is. Feeling just more optimistic about the whole journey that we are on, that I am on. I can only speak for myself. But I just find money, financial literacy, using money as a tool helps unlock all this freedom, which helps me then create other freedoms for myself as well. Because I'm not as scared of the world. Instead, I'm like, oh, I'm doing the whole money thing. So like, let me go unlock more freedoms, whether that's like social freedom, whether that's confidence for myself, whether that is freedom of vocal expression, like being on here with a live stream and constantly sharing my opinions online and on different platforms. Like, it's how can we expand the game of more freedoms if I'm already leaning into an edge that feels edgy to me, which is around the financial side. So all that to be said, freedom, money is a tool, money's a game. Pastor Abdul, let's show this. They don't let me raid enemies' villages anymore with a sword and steal their cows. So I do crypto. It's a pretty good why. Keeps the world a little bit safer. Crypto is the wild, wild west. New gold rush, next frontier. And that's another huge why. My last and final why that I wanted to share with you all, and this is more like an inner story, inner game one, is really around like becoming. I find like it's unlocking new possibilities, but also realizing like you build you. So like, yes, we're all in community. Yes, we're all building these things. Yes, we're all investing in the different ways and shapes and forms that we do. And also you are here building yourself and becoming the version that you want to be of you. And so like I shared with all the stuff around financial literacy and money, like the more that personally I lean into that, with that being an edge for me, the more that I build my own confidence and I like look at myself and I'm like, oh, that's the same version of Whitney. Okay, cool. Like same, like different past, future versions, and realizing that like ultimately like you build you. So for me, a huge one is like being in crypto, we're aligned to one of the most exciting asset classes, the most crazy, volatile, but also most future fronting thing. We understand what's going on. Like, how cool. We understand how change works in some degree, how where we are on the adoption curve. Actually, I would love to share that. Oh, wait, how do I do this? I'm not going to share the screen for now. I'll do this another time. But just like the adoption curve, where we sit on it, how edgy we are. And so it's just like going back to like, for my own self, seeing like you create you. And so like, what is the version of you that you want to create? I'm like, if I look back in my life, I'm like, I don't want to create just another like boring life existence that can be repeatable, or someone could be like, well, she did that. And then, okay, she crossed the grave and like, that's life. Instead, it's not even what people say about me. It's about how I want to be able to look back on my own life and be like, wow, that was a life that I played boldly with. That was a story that I could never have created in the best way possible. It is a version of myself that I am amazed at, my confidence, communication, the people that I get to surround myself with, the conversations, the rooms that you get to be in. Like, it's this aspect of like, we are here right now, literally creating the future. That's just going back to the comment Pastor Abdul had, like the next frontier, like crypto is the wild, wild west, because we are also creating the future right now. And so when I'm looking back for like my own journey of like why I do what I do, why do you do what you do? Why do you take the risks that you do? Internally, this one feels like so strong. Like this is like the fuel that wakes me up every single morning to be like, I keep doing this because I'm so proud of the version that I am becoming of myself. Like every single day, every single moment. And so what is that for you? Is crypto in alignment with you? Is it not? I think if you're on this live stream at this point, you know the case. But why do you do what you do? Why do you take the risks that you do? And I will say this also from a space where I have been much more emotionally investing than I have, at this time, I am not emotionally investing, but I was definitely over invested and emotionally invested last market cycle. And I would not be able to have given any of this advice to my past self. But even in the process of like when things are like, oh, I'm feeling very emotional about these things, like I don't know the future of things, I'm really like on edge, I can go back and give wisdom to that, even that past self of myself, to be like, hey, I'm so glad that I was a little bit over invested at that time. I learned some really great lessons for myself of what it means and what it feels like to be over invested. And also, I can create something different for myself going forward. I can have more empowerment over my money so that I can enjoy more of my life, and I can create this harmony, this balance, so that money truly does work for me. And there's not this like little inner gears shifting through my mind of like, am I over invested? Are these things going to work out? Oh my God, is it going to be another year? Is it going to be another 2 years? No. We're playing the game, and it's a matter of creating a balance, a harmony with financial side, but then to also support internal side of myself, so that both of those voices, both of those systems, both of the plans can support you going out into the world and still being you while your money is still working for you in the market. So I feel like I probably am just repeating some things that may feel like common knowledge to a whole bundle of people. But these are the things that I personally love exploring so much, because we are, like I said many times, we are investing in something that can feel very, it is very volatile. It can feel very jarring. Also, it can feel very jarring at sometimes being at all-time lows in the market. But let's be real. People in the crypto space are looking for things that are undervalued. So I'm like, personally, let's go back to Pulsechain. I'm like, I'm fine sitting over here. If we want to go back, even 3 comments that we have here, Best Abdul over here, I'm here for the tech. Like, just remember, we are here for things that are backed by things that work. Things that work. And so our time will come. Our time for the stars, our time for fame will come. And when that time does come, remember that we have the tech, we have the community, we have the momentum. We can turn things on when that time does come. But in the meantime, we're all running the election, the US election, which is a greater, stronger, more powerful force than anything in the globe right now. Not than anything. I think that probably like the World War III potential, and possibly like potential recession, and the interest rates not moving. There's a whole bundle of different things that are going on there. But it's just realizing that like our little peanut world will eventually move at some point when our turn is. But in the meantime, as long as we have the people who are supporting each other, and we have the community, and we have these safe spaces where you can reflect back on your journey as you are as crypto investors, and taking the risks that we do, we can ground ourselves. We can touch some grass, we can hug some family, we can enjoy the process, because our time will come too. So, all this to be said, my little food for thought for you is, why do you do what you do? Why do you take the risks that you do? Personally, I've been reflecting on this question for like 4 weeks straight, and it just felt so good to like synthesize. And I find the more that I just keep asking myself why, the more questions, the more answers, the different levels of answers that do come up as well. And then you get to know yourself on a whole new different level of like, oh, this is the fuel behind the scenes. Oh, like when I have the money too, like money just reveals what already lives within. Like, why don't I see what actually lives within now before the money comes? Like, it's not just about the money, guys. Money's just a tool to reveal what lives within, and to give you more freedom, and to give XYZ, whatever thing else you're looking for. I also just love being in the space where it's like, yeah, we literally get to defy possibilities. Like, we are DeFi, but we're defying possibilities, financial possibilities, systematic possibilities, how humans trust in systems and in the future and in the world. Like, we are defying so many things. So that's all I have for you guys today on this wonderful Sunday. Wonderful Sunday. I feel so blessed to have just this collective Pulsechain community. One other thing is I'll drop the details below too for the Pulsechain Vegas conference, the 369 tour, I want to say it's called. But it is 2025 March. I will personally be there. I also have a code for you if you do want to save 36.9% off your ticket. You can use the word Whitney. But my little share around the Pulsechain conference. So last year, or this past March, I actually felt this was a super pivotal moment for me. I had gone to 1 or 2 meetups here in Austin before that, but that were Pulsechain ones and Hex ones, but I didn't really feel whether this was my little imposter syndrome. I didn't feel like I fully belonged to whatever degree that was. And I knew that I was like, I really want to go to Vegas. I have no idea why I'm going. I don't drink. I still somewhat feel like an outsider. I don't feel like I have the friends of it, but fuck it, let's just go. And so, anyways, I went and honestly had the best time. I felt like I met a lot of people. Like it's different of like being here live streaming or chatting with people. Like I'd live stream with a good amount of people before that, but to have the in-person relationships and to be like, hey, we broke bread, we shook hands, hey, we caught up about like personal lives. It's something super important that I can't really emphasize enough. But even when I came back, so I went to Vegas, came back, and I had friends, I had students of mine, I had people in my community that they noticed there was a visceral shift within me of like before Vegas Whitney versus after Vegas Whitney. So I share this because there's a lot of big movers, there's a lot of big builders. Vegas is an event that you want to be at. I know I will be at it. There will be plenty of other people as well. And so if you're feeling socially anxious or nervous, I was all of those things. If you want to go back to anything on my YouTube page, I did share a few stories about my experience of Vegas. But also beforehand, I was so nervous. I was like, especially being like a woman in these spaces. I don't know. It might just be my own personal story, but yeah, I just felt like a super big imposter to whatever degree it was. And anyways, went in there, everyone in the Pulsechain, in the Hex world, like we're all real freaking human beings. It's really cool to experience. There's not many, if any, egos. I find a lot of the personalities, the online personalities, the live streamers, like they're just real freaking humans. So if this has been a desire for you, the Vegas conference is a great space where it brings big brains, big movers, big builders. I also felt my Pulsechain and Hex conviction got so much deeper as well to be like, oh, this is actually what happens. Like, I don't have to be like this thing on the internet, these community, this people who live stream. It's like, no. These are the builders. I can see what lives within them too, and what lives within me, and what lives within everyone else, and what lives within the tech. And like, we cannot be stopped as a movement. So if that is at all on your radar, go check out the Pulsechain conference website. I will drop it in the description below. And if you would like to come, use the code Whitney for a discount before September 15th. Yeah, I love seeing people in real life too. So I was also super nervous that like people, I was just like, everyone could just like come up to each other too and just interact. It's quite a funny little dance of what goes on in personally my own mind, and I find a lot of other people's mind around social things versus the reality when like you put people into a room that have shared values, especially around the crypto side of things. Everyone's like, hi, so great to meet you, so great to see you, like what do you do, how do you play in the space? It's so simple. We all have shared values. Just remember that. It's your tribe. So anyways, that is all I have for today. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. And I look forward to doing more chats like these. So see you whenever I see you next. Okay, bye.